Let me get a drink coffee. Okay.
All right. So, welcome to the reference interview. We discuss all things small business, nonprofit, job resources, and education. My name is Megan Pfeiffer Davis, and today we are here with Amber Parker, who is the Workforce Development Program Manager for the Associated General Contractors of Missouri. Welcome, Amber.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yes. So, the first question we have for you is, can you tell us a bit about the history of AGC of Missouri?
Actually, AGC started back in the early 1900s. It was actually two separate entities. So you had the AGC of St. Louis chapter, which was formed in 1920 with the Masters Builders Association. They actually went to the AGC of America and said they wanted to do a chapter. And then 5 years later, in 1925, the AGC of Missouri became members. They had 19 contractors through the state, and they formed that chapter there. The chapters worked separately, but they were kind of working at parallel at the same time. They would do negotiations for labor agreements. They would invite affiliated members to join each separate one. A lot of them were actually members of both, because if you did work in St. Louis and outstate, we call it outstate, you belong then to both. Then in 1950, the AGC of St. Louis actually had a huge merger with the Master Builders Association in St. Louis and the Municipal Contractors provision. So that created 72 contractor members. So we have different sections. So we have contractors, and then we have service and suppliers. So those are kind of like, and then your kind of like your outliers or service like service suppliers. So they had all those members, and then in 2014 is when the AGC of Missouri and the AGC of St. Louis actually merged together, and we just became the AGC of Missouri, or we call it AGCMO.
No.
So yeah, it's a
Well, that's
lot.
cool. That's a long time frame from like the
Yeah,
early 1900s to
hundreds.
2014.
And I mean, a lot of it had to do with back in the early 1900s with labor unions and workers feeling disadvantaged. And these two groups really help protect workers and companies at the same time.
Super cool. Thanks for sharing that with us. So, for you, how did your career path lead you to the position you're in, and how long have you been in your role?
Mine was a little bit of luck. So I have worked in construction. I worked for what we call subcontractors. So those are specialty contractors. So I worked for a fire sprinkler company for a number of years, and I worked for a door company. So I got a little bit lucky when this job came up. I actually graduated from UMSL. So and my husband is a project executive for a major construction general contractor here in town. So I've been around construction for a while. It just so happened that this job kind of like fell in my lap, and I was really happy with it. So I get to kind of do all the things that I love every single day. So I work with a lot of people. I I think construction is really viable. I have a lot of family members that were union members. I'm actually from Wisconsin, so a lot of my family members up there belong to unions. So construction's always been kind of part of my life
hmm
in different ways. But it I went to so I graduated with a degree in interdisciplinary studies. So I pretty much got
Okay,
to make up my own major, which was nice.
that's
And I
cool.
originally wanted to work with older adults, but you know, it kind of worked out for me. So
hmm
that's how I ended up here.
Well, awesome. So, in your role, how do you support the work of the organization?
So my work, I am the uh, manager of professional development. I can't talk today, sorry. And so what I do is I run a lot of our professional development classes for our members. So we have members that are they could be working in the field and they want to make their way into the office. So we offer courses like project management development, STP, which is our supervisory training for the field. We also hold like BIM classes. So that's building models, like those cool 3D models that you see. We offer classes on that. We offer leadership classes. So especially young kids that are coming in, they kind of they need a little bit of development on how to hold a meeting, things like, how to do small talk, because all the kids now, they spend all their time on their phones and they don't want to really do that person-to-person interaction. So we try to build that up so they're more comfortable and confident when they go into meeting different people, because construction is really a lot about relationships. So you got to be a people person.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool stuff.
Yeah.
So have you seen, you kind of talked about it with like the kids, but have you seen any major changes to the work since you began? And what about during the pandemic?
So I actually started after the pandemic, but
Oh,
traces were still there. So like this, everybody's on Zoom,
mm-hmm.
everybody's doing meetings online, the classes were online, but we were finding that a lot of people like those in-person classes because there's a little more interaction. So we work with like the Corps of Engineering. There, if you do work for the Corps of Engineering, somebody, usually your project manager or your superintendent, have to hold a license. So this license is good for 5 years. It's a certificate. You then understand how the Corps, these certificates, like you understand how they do things at the Corps, different environmental impacts that they're looking to mitigate, and things that they're looking for on the job. So all of that was online, which a lot of people liked because the a lot of different Corps of Engineering stations around the country have stopped holding this class.
Oh,
So
wow.
we're actually still one of the few chapters that does.
Mm-hmm.
And we are trying to move that one back in person because they think that sitting down, looking at blueprints and layouts, that's kind of hard to do online and have that interaction. So we're trying to bring that back. So if you were an introvert during the pandemic, you were loving life because you did not have to go out and talk to people. But now we're getting back to in person. So they have a little bit of trouble with that. Construction never slowed down during the pandemic. It was kind of like medical and the medical field.
Mm-hmm.
It was an essential component to the roads still have to get built,
Yeah.
buildings still have to be put up. So we were still working.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I worked, because I was working for my fire sprinkler company, we were working and it was every day and trying to keep up with all the changes all the time. That took a lot of time out of everybody's day all day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's but now that we're coming out of it, people are going back out into the world, and people are walking in and going, oh, our building needs a little bit of help. So now construction and people want to, they saw that like a lot of obviously the roads, if you drive around St. Louis, the roads are horrible. So
Mm-hmm.
we got to fix the roads. We got to take care of stuff. So construction it's booming. It never slowed down, but we have a shortage of workers and we have a lot of office people, but we need people that are actually pouring concrete and laying forms and erecting steel girders and stuff. So we're looking for people all of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My hope is you can't hear it. We have people working on our roof today here in the building.
See, got to have
And
a roofer.
yep, I
Yeah.
can hear them walking around. So my hope is this headset's
I haven't
getting
heard
rid of that.
anything, so you're good.
That's good. I was like, they just were yelling. So I was like, oh no. So for this, who is your audience when you're thinking about these classes and these positions? And do you work with like youth, emerging adults, and people in career transition?
We work with all of the above. We have the trades are finding, so a lot of kids are, they're in high school and their parents are like, yeah, you're going to college, and kid shows up for like a year and is like, this is not for me. So we're taking in a lot of those students, or there were a lot of people that were working in the restaurant industry, food service,
Hmm.
that obviously with the pandemic, they sat at home for 12 months.
Yeah.
And now they're like, ooh, I got to have a job, and saw that construction was up and running. So we're working with a lot of those that are making career transitions. We also work with people that have been craft workers in the field for 30 years, and now they're like, ooh, my body is broken, but I don't want to stop working. So we're helping them move to, like foremen, superintendents, moving them on with their career. So we work with everybody. And I do spend time at career fairs and stuff trying to get high school students to do construction. And we spend, the AGC as a whole spends a lot of time. We have a program called Build My Future.
Hmm.
So we do 7 events through the state of Missouri every year, and they're one day all you could think of construction, trying to get kids excited about joining construction after high school.
That's cool. That's something we, as you know, have been pushing a lot more into lately, just because, the money that you can make as soon as you start is amazing.
It is amazing,
And
but
all
then
the
you
union
also have to teach
benefits.
them like
Yes.
you're not always working, and that becomes we're kind of finding that double-edged sword now because we get these kids excited about look at how much money you can make, and
Mm-hmm.
they don't, and then they show up their first day and they're like, oh, this was not what I was thinking it was. So it's a little bit of a learning curve, and they have to learn that you could be in the summer working 10-hour days, working overtime, making all
Mm-hmm.
this extra money, but then come November, December, if you're working outside, it could be snowing or
Yeah.
something and you're not working. So you
You're off
might
that
get
day.
laid off for a month.
Yeah.
So you have to
Yeah.
prepare for that.
We have a new building branch coming in, and every day it rains. I'm like, oh no, we're pushed back another day.
Yeah. Yeah. And if it's raining outside, you're not working.
Yeah, and it's just not something, we think about often when you
Yeah.
think about going to work. It's like, oh, it's raining.
Yeah.
They wake up, they're like, oh no, it's not a work day.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the stats around construction careers in Missouri that you can share with us, and why is this a viable career?
So right now, the state of Missouri actually pushed out their that construction is one of the top growing jobs in from 2020 to 2023 so far. Carpentry and labor jobs receive an A grade. So that means those are jobs that you can do like right now.
Hmm.
So you can join the carpentry union. If you're an apprentice, they put you to work right away. So it's not like you're going to class and learning all these skills and then you got to wait 4 years before you can start working.
Hmm.
You're starting right on the nose. And carpentry and laborers are the top outlook. Craft work they're finding it's extremely viable. It's a career choice for a number of reasons. So you don't pay to get trained, you are getting paid to be trained.
Hmm.
So you're not paying college tuition. You pretty much they fall into like two buckets. So most of them are what they call letter of intent. So you go to the union, do the application, you have to do an interview. They're going to see if you're the right fit. If you make it, they're going to be like, okay, now here's a list of contractors. You have to go get a job. So you have to go to those contractors, get a job. They sign this letter of intent. You bring it back to the union hall. They're like, great, now you're in, and you start on day one. And not only are you getting paid, you're getting all of the union benefits, medical, dental, life insurance. I know these are things that kids don't think about in high school, but their parents are like, parents don't have to carry them on their insurance after that. You are working from day one. Most of them, you work 3 weeks out of the month, and then 1 week you go to class. So that week you're in class, you do have to do some in-class work. You're not getting paid for that week.
Hmm.
So they really try to push like financial literacy, like you have to budget. How do we do this? You're on the job right away, you're getting paid, and then it usually takes 3 to 4 years depending on your program. Once you graduate from there, you're a full-fledged journeyman. You can go work wherever in the United States. So you could be like, I hate the state of misery. That's Missouri. I want to go work in California. Perfect. You can go move to California and they'll transfer your union card out there. So there's a lot of movement. A lot of construction companies are looking for craft workers that are willing to travel. So
Hmm.
like when I worked for the fire sprinkler company, we had about 5 guys. They were just traveling guys. They worked all over the United States where we worked. So there's a lot of movement in there. And then if you're right and St. Most of the union halls partner with like St. Louis Community College. So
Hmm.
they will take your applied learning in your trade, give you college credits for that. So pretty much all you have to do are your gen eds like math,
Hmm.
English, whatever. They'll give you an associate's degree for that. And it costs you
Awesome.
next to nothing. So there's a lot of movement and traction. And if you're really good at your job, you can become a foreman, superintendent. So there's a lot of movement in there. So, and if you like working with your hands and you don't want to be stuck in an office like this all day, like this is a great way for you to get out.
That is great.
Yeah.
Quick question, like a follow-up with the when you travel, is it like other like travel occupational therapists, travel nurses, where the pay is a little bit more enticing to help with traveling?
You make your like your union wage,
Mm-hmm.
and you get a per diem. So they
Okay.
give you like $125 a day to eat.
Mm-hmm.
They'll give you X number of dollars for lodging. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of them work out deals with like extended, like Marriott, like
Yeah.
extended stays and stuff like that. So you're booked a week out. So like you pretty much have an apartment with a kitchen and everything. So you're not having to eat out all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of them will pay for like your gas. Like you're not, if you're in a company van, you're not even paying for gas. You're the company is paying for your gas. So it becomes a pretty sweet deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I have
And
a
then you get
friend
to
that
go
does
check out other
travel.
parts of the country and
Yeah.
maybe decide that, hey, I really liked it down here in Atlanta. We're the company I worked for, we did a lot of Von Mars when they were growing.
Mm-hmm.
So we were in Michigan, Minnesota, Georgia, Texas. Like these guys traveled all over.
That's cool. I wish traveling librarian was a thing, and sadly it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Would it be nice? Like, yes, pay for me to be out.
Yeah, pay for me to go somewhere for like 3 to 4 weeks and then I'll go somewhere else.
Some of these guys were on those jobs for months, so they
That's
would
cool.
work. They could do what they call 410. So you work Monday through Thursday, you work 10 hours, and
Mm-hmm.
then you have off Friday. So a lot of them would fly home for the weekend,
Oh wow.
depending on where they were. They could drive home for the weekend and spend time with their families. And a lot of companies would even pay if like your family wanted to go to your job out to where you're working. So they try to keep that life work balance pretty equal. So, and that's the other thing. If you're having a family, most of these jobs run from like 7 to 3:30. So you have the evenings available to spend time with your family.
Mm-hmm. That is great. And another thing that is super important to think about when looking for a job of that
Yeah.
work-life balance.
Yep.
So, what are some issues or setbacks you see in recruitment, and what are some concerns you hear from those that are considering the trades?
Our big like hurdle that we're facing now is and I can say when I graduated from high school in 2002, like they took shop out of the schools.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of family. I talked to like my aunts and my uncles. They're like and even my parents. We took shop. They had
Mm-hmm.
anything from automotive, woodworking, drafting. Like they had those shop classes in there. They would have the unions in there and those manufacturing companies in there trying to recruit you straight out of high school to be like, why pay for college?
Mm-hmm.
Well, starting in the early 2000s, that all disappeared. And construction kind of got this stigma of you only work construction if you weren't smart enough to go to college,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't true. Construction is a low, dirty job. Nobody wants to do it. There's no benefit in it. So when you're trying to talk to kids, they're like, oh, my parents say like construction is horrible. So you're trying to not only get through those kids, but you have to get through to their parents because their parents and
Yeah.
we go into a lot of these schools and career counselors, they're told to push college, push college.
Yeah.
And now you're trying to go in there and be like, look at they can do this and make really good money. And they don't even know half of these like the unions existed or
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So construction's had a bad rap for a while. So now we're just trying to make it cool again, pretty
Yeah.
much. And those and I mean, some of these young kids, like they're like, ooh, I have to go work outside. I have to use my hands. I can't sit on my phone all day. Like those are things that you're also trying to overcome with that
Yeah.
because kids are like one example, we did Build My Future last year and I had this kid walk up and he's like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And I'm like, oh, what are you going to entrepreneur in? And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to flip houses and be a real estate mogul. All right. So if you're flipping houses, are you flipping the houses? Are you
Yeah.
doing the work? Do you know how to use a hammer? Do you
Yeah.
know about electrical and plumbing? No. Well, are you
Carpentry.
gonna be
Yeah.
able to afford somebody to do that for you?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. So then their gears, these kids walk into buildings and have no idea what it took to put this building here, or how the
Mm-hmm.
light switch turns on. So you're trying to get past a lot of that stigma.
Yeah.
So, and it is hard work. And these kids come in, and I was like, other than maybe doing a sport, like they've never had to really physically work. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a little bit of a game changer. So some of them walk in their first day, and foremen or people are screaming and doing whatever, and they're like, oh, I can't do this. And walk off the job site and never come back. So
Ah.
it is a little bit, you're trying to overcome those barriers. And the
Mm-hmm.
unions have had to switch, and the JECs have had their programs have had to switch as well, because it used to be you walked on it. I remember walking on job sites, and guys are like screaming at the apprentices and other journeymen. And I mean, you do what you're told, don't listen to anybody else. And now you have to become a little more sensitive to some stuff. So they're having to caress the way that they talk to people. So that becomes a little bit of a barrier.
Mm-hmm.
And but then the JECs also are like, some of these kids need to grow a little bit tougher skin, because life's hard, and
Mm-hmm.
they have to they gotta level up and get to it. So it's becoming, how do we make it look appealing, but then set reasonable expectations for apprentices, and really like getting through to those parents that it's not dirty work, it's good work,
Mm-hmm.
and your kids can live a really good life, and you don't have to pay for them to go to college. Because right now, I mean, even to be, I feel bad for people who want to be teachers. It's what,
Yeah.
$80,000 now. I mean, my last year at UMSL was $15,000. This is a D2 commuter school. Like, what am I paying $15,000 for? Because
Yeah.
you're paying for the new upgraded the student center and the workout rooms. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm. Not
what?
gonna use any of these.
Yeah. So, we're telling kids, like, you don't have to have $80,000 of debt
Mm-hmm.
straggled to your back with no way to get out of it. You're working, you're ready to go. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up in a very similar situation where our school had shop class, but it was only pushed on the guys. And
yep,
then I grew up in my dad was he laid floors. And so, and he was self-employed, but he would bring my brother in and
yeah,
started him at 12, but
yep,
never me, never brought me in.
yeah.
So when he graduated, my brother's older than me, he went straight into laying floors,
And
but I was
what,
supposed to go to college.
right, right. Of
And
course.
yeah, and that's something in my school that was just never brought to our attention was that these are really good jobs. Like
Yeah,
my brother, by the time I got out of all of my studies, I was
yeah,
in debt that was twice as much as what I was making.
yeah,
But my brother was making my debt a
yeah,
year.
yeah,
So
yeah. Be like, thanks, Dad.
yeah,
Yeah.
thanks. And I do I always joke when we see like the landscapers here. I'm like, I would so much rather be outside planting that tree than
Mhm.
sitting in this office.
Yes, right, right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a balance. You need people to
Yeah.
work in the office, but yeah.
Yeah.
And that's become a little bit of a thing too, that trying to maximize diversity, and women have become a big thing, because women want to work in the trades, women want to do
Hmm.
that work. And for the longest time, it was, if you worked in construction, you were like me, you were the office chick. You only
Hmm.
came out on the job site if I had to like bring plans or bring something out there, and I had guys catcalling me and doing
Yep.
whatever, and you're just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, maybe it would be nice to like lay pipe or something and
Yeah. And
do
every
something.
day you'd be like, I'm gonna do that pipe. I'm
Yeah,
gonna lay pipe.
yeah.
Yeah. That kind of leads us into that next question is that there is the assumption that trades is mostly white males who are pursuing these careers. So, who are you currently seeing pursuing the trades the most, and has this trade changed strategy for recruitment over time?
So working with the JECs, they have tried to change how people perceive them. They are looking for women. They are looking for diversity. I can say that. So, like my own personal experience, my grandfather just died. He was in the machinist union. He was
Mm.
Mexican American, and he tried to get in the union for years and years and years, and they would not let him in So he actually brought a reporter in for one of the meetings, and the reporter stood up and said, "What are you doing for diversity?" And they're like, "Oh, we let everybody in. We got 2 spots open right now. We're looking for the right candidates." So my grandfather and the other Mexican Americans stood up and said, "We're ready to join." So he pretty much forced the union to take him on. So we're trying to fix that now. For women, there's a group called MOIT, which is Missouri Women in Trades. So they work hard to recruit women and have a support system for women on job sites. Because if you think about walking onto a job site, most of the time it's porta potties.
Yeah.
So women have different needs. What if you just had a baby and you're breastfeeding? Like, there's no place for you to go on a job site to take care of that stuff. On the diversity end, there's programs like BUD. So it's called Building Union Diversity. We have a program here in St. Louis that's very successful. They actually just moved in 3 days ago into our building. So they go and recruit younger people or people who are working that live in these urban populations that may not think that they can get into the union and help out with that. The AGC here, we chartered the Construction Career Center that we ran out of here. So if you were somebody looking to get into construction and you're like, "I don't know what to do," you could come in here, talk to us. We'll put you in contact with maybe a union that you're interested in working with, trying to help you find a job in construction. We try to work with our member companies to say like, "Hey, are you even looking for somebody to work in your warehouse?" and try to get them in the door at least until we can help them get into a union or get into a program that's going to fit their needs. We participated also as one of the founding organizations of what was called as Pride, or is now called SLCC, which is the St. Louis Construction Cooperative. So it is all the JECs and construction companies working together to build a more diverse. We want our construction universe to look like a lot of like what St. Louis looks like. And there's a lot of different colors in there. So we're trying to make sure that it's inclusive for everybody. And then obviously we host the Build My Futures here. So we're helping bring construction to some of these kids here in St. Louis that have never seen any of this construction equipment. And I mean, they're working with power tools and excavators, and they get to be immersed in a lot of that stuff. So they have an idea of what they're walking into. Obviously, we've partnered with you guys and your SkillMill. So I promote that a lot at the high schools and with other construction organizations to help kids build that confidence. And if they're interested in construction, something they can do at home and not seem uncool in front of their friends. We try to work out with that. But like right now, like we host the iron workers do their training program in this building. Women is like their number one minority that is coming into. So the channels are opening, we're being more welcoming, but then we have to think about the logisticals of a lot of that, like daycare for women is a big issue. Transportation, you got to have reliable transportation, and a lot of people that live in the city have to rely on the metro system. Well, you don't want to be on the metro system with $300 worth of tools every day, and where your job site is not going to be on the metro line. It's probably going to be out somewhere. So how do we help those people get to the job sites that they need to get to? So these are things that we are working on to implement diversity throughout construction and the St. Louis and Missouri ecosystem. Because if you live out in rural Missouri, you might have a truck, but you don't know what's going on. So we work hard on making sure we're making it an inclusive place for everybody to work.
That is really great. And the great things to think about, because I don't think, again, a lot of places think about travel and your job site's probably not going to be.
We had tried to pilot a program where we would help people for 30 days, get them Ubers and Lyfts to and from the job site. work with St. Louis Community Credit Union, because a lot of these people, especially if they're like transitioning adults, maybe they don't qualify for an
Yeah.
account. So a lot of places now, you don't get a paper check, they do direct deposit. So, but then helping them set up like direct deposit and payroll deduction. So help them like right away, like, hey, we're gonna take out a portion for a car payment. And then we would help them get financing for a reliable vehicle that had to be under $10,000. Well, obviously with the pandemic, used cars, the prices went through the roof.
Yeah.
So you can't find a good, reliable used car for, I would say, like right now, no less than $15,000. Well, and we were working with partners and stuff, and a lot of the car dealerships we were working with, they're like, we can't help you because we don't have inventory. So transportation is a big thing. So trying to figure out that piece of the puzzle has become a big issue for us as well.
Well, that's a really nice program. Hopefully things will go back to normal.
Yeah, hopefully one day. One day.
Yeah. All right. So if someone is interested in construction trades, what would you suggest they do next? And is it different based on age?
Age a little bit of factor. Like if you're in high school, they could still always come to us here at the AGC. We'll be more than happy to try to help point them in the right direction. So a lot of, if you're interested, like if you're in high school and you're interested in a trade, I would reach out to them. A lot of them have like weekend programs where you can kind of like do a shadowing program to be like the day in the life of an electrician, and they can help, you can kind of demo to see how that would work. Construction or the carpentry union has what they call PATS, which is like a 3-day boot camp in carpentry. So they try to help implement that. If you're transition, talk to best way if you want to be in a trade is to go to that union that you are interested in. They're going to have stuff for you to tour the building, tour the facility, tour job to make you want to feel comfortable in joining. We also help with that. Like I would contact, the electrician's hall or something and be like, I've got somebody who's interested, because there's a process to all of that, and walk people through that process. Or, like we work with our members they're saying like, hey, we need a carpenter. Okay. Let's say like you moved here, you're not in a union, but you are a carpenter. We can help then get you into a job. So we try all of that.
That's really cool. I know you guys gave us a little book that has every union and the contact
Every
and
union, yeah.
what's required, and it is
And
all
there's a lot,
different.
I mean, some of them, like, especially like the electricians, pipe fitters, and plumbers, those become a little more, those are like we call like involved trades. So there could be a waiting list for that.
Oh,
So then they will even say like, hey, we'll put you on this wait list, but it could be a year and a half before, we can get you in here. So I would say like if you're working at McDonald's, don't go and quit McDonald's if you're trying to get into a union, because you could be put on a list and you might have to wait. You could miss the cutoff for when they're taking in new apprentices. So there's a little bit of a lag there, and they have a process. Like you have to fill out the application, you have to do an interview with all of them. So we also try to offer mock interviews and things like to prepare people for going in there and talking. So obviously that we work with different, like Bud, their main goal is it's like a crash course in construction. So you're learning how to use tools, you're learning the lingo, all the acronyms that go into construction. Like there was like 5 pages of them. I'm not kidding. So, trying to get you used to that world. And then they take them around to all the different trades. So you get a chance to look at what that would be.
that's cool.
And it's a 6-week program. They pay everybody that goes in that program like $100 a week or something to do that. So it's not like you're not making anything while you're doing it. So, those usually kind of help. I would say, we work hard. If you're in high school, we try to work with the career counselors at high schools to be like, these are viable, and give them information that they can pass on to their students as well. I have a lot of school counselors call me and be like, we've got somebody who's interested in this. Like, what do I do next? To be like, here you go. So
that is great. So, what are the base skills or education requirements to enter any trade, or how do you help potential recruits find work? And I know we just said that it varies from
It varies
union to
from,
union.
you have to have a nice high school grad. Either you have to be graduating from high school, have your GED, you got to have a high school diploma.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of them, you know, you need to have a driver's license or a valid ID. You have to, a lot of them do require that you got to have transportation. So we try to work that one out with them. Uh, if you're in high school and interested, but you don't have any idea about tools, that's where we say, like, you should try the SkillMill or something.
Hmm.
And you have to have basic, like, fifth grade construction math. They have a lot of people that test out because they cannot pass. So you do your interview. Most trades have what they call like an assessment test.
Hmm.
So they're going to say, like, there's kids that don't know how to read a ruler.
Hmm.
So, like, I say, like, go on SkillMill, do their construction math because you're going to need that.
Yeah.
So, and if, we try to hook people up with tutors and stuff too, if they need a little extra help with that. Um, Most of them, if you are looking to get into a trade, you got to go, the union hall is your best bet. They're going to help you out with everything as well. Um, it, it's just, it depends on what you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want to be a project manager, you're going to have to go to college.
Hmm.
Like, Missouri State has a really good construction management program. If you want to work with heavy equipment, you could go somewhere like State Tech. So they're a 2-year vocational school. There
Hmm.
is a cost to that, but I mean, a lot of them work with like heavy machinery, maintenance, driving, things like that. So they get you up and running pretty quick as well. And State Tech has really grown and has really gotten a really good reputation of turning out really good workers into the industry. So
That's cool.
there's a lot.
Yeah. If you are already working in a trade and you're in a union and you do want to go into project management, is there like a tuition reimbursement opportunity
I
or?
mean, some companies offer tuition reimbursement.
Okay.
Um, if you, depending on what you're doing, sometimes like St. Louis Community College will offer
Mm,
you a cheaper rate.
that's
Some of them
great.
have different courses that you can take with that as well. Like, we offer a project management course.
Mm,
So if your company is one of our members, it's usually 50% less than if you were a non-member. Um, and we work with the AGC of America. So we offer what they call Edge, which is it's live like Zoom classes that are online.
mm,
A lot of them now are offering like on-demand classes, so it's something that you can do on your own time at home as well.
that's cool.
Yeah,
Another little benefit.
yeah, another little benefit.
So, what are the different? I think I just asked that question. So, if someone is interested but does not have the funds for education or the tools, does your organization offer any scholarships or like
We
Pell
actually
Grants?
do. Our education foundation gave out more than $50,000 worth of scholarships last year.
Woohoo!
So there's an application you have to fill out. If you are going to college, we usually give up to $3,000 per student per year. There's an
Hmm.
application for that. It's pretty simple. The requirement is you have to be going to a Missouri school and you have to be in a construction program.
Hmm.
If you are in a trade program, we offer scholarships for that as well. So yeah, you're not doing books or classes, but
Hmm.
we offer $1,000 scholarship to apprentices every year. Same thing, application, but that helps buy tools and like boots, like goods, like work boots. Those things can be $300 a pair.
Crazy.
So yeah, we offer scholarships for that as well to help students. A lot of the union halls, if you're somebody's coming in low income, they will sometimes have like, used tools that you
Mm,
can buy at a discount, things like that. So we try to help get people going right away.
it's really nice. That was
Yeah.
going to be my next question. Like, do you have like Amber has got new tools, so she's got her old tools, and now maybe Megan could get them. But sounds like it.
Sometimes, I mean, a lot of them do work out like with themselves, like, hey, I just
Hmm.
bought like a new grinder this one's still, it's still good. I'll sell it to you for $50. Okay.
That's cool.
They do a lot of like insider trading,
Yeah.
but I've been trying to think about like, I know like Moet offers something with women too to help those women get tools to offer those at a discount as well. So
Mhm.
there's programs there that can help these students get that. And then a lot of them, so like through the AGC, we have a student chapter. We have student chapters throughout the state. So we work with S&T in Rolla, State Tech, Washington University, all these different schools. So you can then join that and then you can take part in AGC activities for either free or a reduced rate. So you're getting the experience. And then a lot of times, if you are in a student chapter, that's how you get in front of potential employers with the member companies, and they take interns on usually your senior year. So now you can get paid to work during the summer. So we try to offer various programs to help students get into construction.
That's really cool. So, what do you see changing for this field in the next 5 to say 10 years?
I think like construction's going to continue to grow. Obviously, you see on the news all the time with like bridges, what most of the infrastructure here in the United States gets a D or an F rating. So we're going to have to really start in this country investing in infrastructure. So there's going to be a high demand for these craft workers. So we're going to be hiring, companies are going to be hiring. I don't see that changing at all. It's just going to be, you know, we're right now, as of this year in America, we're about 1 million people short for craft workers.
Yeah.
So
And I was like, that's going to be getting worse as the baby boomers start to retire, or they're
yes, and
they're retiring now and
that's the
more.
other thing we're seeing are these baby boomers and stuff retiring out, and we don't have the people to bring in. So we're going to see that. I think, and if college costs keep going up the way that they are, people, students are going to realize that they can't, that's not going to be feasible. So they're going to be looking for a viable alternative, and construction offers that. So we're going to keep seeing that up, and the stability in that. I mean, that's great if you graduate with a degree in English, but where are you going to work with that? Like this, the stability in construction is usually always there, unless like something significant happens. So people find comfort in that. And I think even with technology and everything, there are just some things that technology cannot replace. And building a road and building a building is one of those things. Now we use technology to help us do that and be more productive, but people still have to do that stuff with their hands. So there's always going to be a need.
Yeah. AI cannot replace you guys.
No,
Not even close. And if they
not
ever can,
even.
I don't want to be in that world because they'll be
Oh,
walking robots.
we run a tech conference every year, so we have one coming up in May. I mean, and we're really looking at innovation and technology and how that has really changed a lot of things. And technology is cool, but you still got to have people to use it, and you got to have people that can still work with their hands. And I think it's going to be a big stressor, kind of like in the medical field with people with burnout and everything. They're losing workers, and a lot of them, some of them do end up coming over to construction because they still feel like they're doing something that is impactful to their community, but without the
stress
insurance hanging over their head.
yeah.
So
Something when we think about technology that we've added to our library is you've mentioned a SkillMill. And for those watching, SkillMill offers skilled trades training courses online on HVAC, solar, plumbing, electrical, and more. So you can develop skills at your own pace through expert-led video lessons and digital training simulations with virtual reality. So you get to explore trades and skilled trades doing like hands-on simulations in a virtual reality component or on the computer. And this can all be accessed with your library card by registering at slcl.org/resources/SkillMill. So, Amber, you've been introduced to SkillMill and we've done some outreach with you guys. So, how did your folks react to VR training possibility with SkillMill?
It's been actually really, really popular. And you know, I work when I go into some of these inner city schools, because I'm like, even if you don't have a computer, you get to check one out at the library. Like, how
Hmm.
cool is that? Like, and a lot of schools now are, you know, they get Chromebooks and stuff like that, so it's
Yeah.
easy to access. And for these students, they get to do it at home, so it's a little bit more of a comfort factor because they don't have to look uncool in front of all their friends, because we all know how
Hmm.
that goes. So it's become a really good application. I've actually talked to parents about it too. Sometimes we end up with parents that are chaperoning at the Build My Future.
Okay.
So the one we had in St. Charles, like Louise, was awesome. And you know, a lot of the kids took to it. They think it's really cool. So,
Hmm.
you know, I'm hoping we can have more success with that. And then I've even shown them, like, you have it was like the student now or tutoring now, where I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, if your math skills aren't up to shake, like, there's some resources here to use as well. And I think people forget about the library. And like, I
Hmm.
remember when I was a kid, I loved the library. It was free. You could
Yeah.
take free stuff home. I mean,
Yeah.
you could bring it back, but you know, you still had the, you know, you had the accessibility for stuff that maybe your
Hmm.
parents couldn't afford to give you. So, and it's free.
It's free. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you
When
can do it, and if you can do it from a tablet or a computer,
hmm
that's awesome.
hmm
And it
when
makes it possible.
when we go
So,
to the job career fairs, we bring a headset because we have virtual reality headsets, and definitely the teens definitely don't want to put them on because their friends are looking at them. But some of them get really into it, and
oh,
we've
they get
had
into
some
it because I
great
have
times.
those too, and they're trying to do all this construction stuff. And yeah,
Yes,
some of the
yes.
girls are like, it's gonna mess with my hair. I'm like, oh, honey, you got bigger
And
problems.
it is gonna
Yeah,
mess with your hair, and it's gonna put a big mask on your face,
your face.
but
Yeah.
you're gonna have so much fun.
It kind of, I don't know if I like it, and it makes me nauseous. Like, I get
Yeah.
motion sick from it, but yeah, we've had really good responses with it. I've shared it with other, like the career counselors and stuff that I work with. I'm like, there's these tools available for students. We just need to
Mhm.
make sure that we're putting them into their hands.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of our big challenge, is how do we get this stuff to the kids so
Mhm.
they understand it? But then we also like getting to those parents and being like, this is a really good opportunity for your kids. Like, don't naysay it before they try it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, like when your parents are like, you gotta try, you know, here's baked beans, you gotta eat at least 3 bites.
Uh-huh.
Well, let these kids take at least 3 bites into this before we poo-poo it. So
It's
it,
a great analogy.
thank you. That's the other part of my job, is coming up with good analogies for stuff. So, but
Because
yeah,
I was definitely, I don't like Brussels sprouts, and I was definitely a kid that was like, you can't leave this table, and they'd turn the lights off on me at the table because I wouldn't
table.
eat them.
Yeah,
They never
yeah,
did that with trades.
yeah. See, look at you, could have been laying floors like your brother.
I could have been, I'd have the tough knees. He has very, calloused
You know, you could
knees.
still do it on the side.
Yeah, I could. I've often thought about landscaping on the side of like, I think I would love planting trees. I don't know, there's something about it. Even though I know they're heavy,
Yeah.
very
Something
heavy.
like a lot of construction workers do jobs on the side.
Yeah.
So you can as well. And it's never too late. Just like we say, it's like never too late to join construction. So
Hmm.
you could quit this job tomorrow and go
Yeah.
join. Yeah,
Go work on the bridges.
there you go. I mean, some of these construction sites like BJC, those new towers and stuff, I mean, you could work on some pretty cool projects.
Hmm. It is cool. My uncle, he's a bricklayer, and so like he built my elementary school. And
Yeah,
so like I always think like how cool is that to be able to drive by daily and be like, I did that. I
yeah.
did that. Or like,
That's it. That's what we tell
yeah.
kids. Like, you could be driving by and looking at a really cool building and be like, "Ooh, I had a part. Like, I had a part in that. I
Hmm.
helped build that." Like, you're building something that's sustainable and people are going to look at for a really, really long time.
Yeah, it's a cool way to leave your mark on
Yeah.
the world.
Yep.
So when we think about the VR and the skill mill, are there any concerns about using this as a method of learning the trades, and how could you see it possibly helping?
I think it helps. I don't know if like there's a concern in there. The
Hmm.
skill mill does like a really good job of starting with the basics and running through. Obviously, it was developed by people that have worked in the industry. I've actually kind of like with a lot of my JEC partners, like, hey, like, here's a tool that you could possibly, use as well. So kids start getting acclimated with it. I think it will become more popular as VR and virtual reality become more popular, and innovation in technology and how that's going to work. There's a lot of different opportunities there. I think it's a good tool. It's not going to replace the actual learning, that the learning component. But I mean, if you're starting out green as a first year apprentice, and maybe, it's something that they could use to help get ready themselves and make sure that they're walking in day one with a little bit of knowledge.
Yeah, it's something I didn't thought about it yesterday. So we went home and I realized the night before that there was like no air conditioning coming out of our vents, and we have floor vents. And so we went out and checked, and our line was frozen. And so we turned it off. We were trying to like Googling all this stuff, trying to figure out what it was. I was reading
Like
so many
YouTubing.
articles. Yeah. And
YouTubing
then,
DIY is like the
yeah.
big thing, and it's always like, ugh.
Yeah. So then it's like I could have gone to SkillMill and just been like frozen thing, and I could have seen an expert
Yeah,
leading me through. And it was just, we had to change our filter. That's all.
yeah, something
But I would
easy.
have gone through the steps of like, check this, check this, check
Like this,
this,
yeah,
instead
yeah,
of reading all these crazy articles about, well, one time when I was in fifth grade.
right, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I think it's nice because it's done in a really professional, and like walking through that, because when you're learning to, let's say, like you want to go work in HVAC, those are things that you have to troubleshoot on the spot. And I'm sure like the customer doesn't want to see you on a piece of paper, like, okay, step one, do this. Like,
Yeah.
that's where the iPad helps. But you
Yes.
learn how to run through all those steps and to pay attention to the details. Because I think a lot of times people just take for advantage, like the technology's just going to figure it out for me. The cable box isn't working. You hit the troubleshoot button and it automatically fixes it or attempts to fix it. I still end up calling Spectrum and being like, hell.
Yeah.
But it becomes a good tool for become like a reference point, and to learn like, oh yeah, when I walk onto a job site, I need to be looking for A, B, and C. What is causing this? It's kind of like, I remember in the library those like choose your path kind of books. Like
Yeah.
you would get to a certain point. Now, if you're gonna do this, go to page like 67, or if you're gonna do this, go to page 100. Kind of changing like how you're gonna look at it. That's what you pretty much have to do in construction. You're pretty much like a detective. If something's broken, you got to figure out, well, what caused that to break. So SkillMill becomes a really good embedding those skills right away to be like, okay, the line's frozen. So, okay, the line's frozen. That like, what's going to happen now? And that's what you learn in all of these unions. They teaching you like practical application. Like,
Yeah.
you got to get down to the core of it. So
Yeah. Detective work is super cool.
it is detective work.
All right. So our final question is, if someone would like to know more about your organization, where can they go?
They can go to agcmo.org and it pulls up our page. You can go to its workforce development. It has all of our information. It shows you our unions that we are affiliated with or partnered with. If you want more information, my contact information is on there, so you can always reach out to me and I will try to put you on the path to construction.
Yeah. Wonderful. So thank you so much, Amber, for joining us today and going through these questions with us. We're
No
excited to
problem.
connect our patrons with you and highlight the work you do to help people getting jobs in the trades in Missouri.
Yeah. And hopefully I'll hook up with you guys and I'll have you come with me to more job fairs so you can put
Yes.
SkillMill into the laps of more kids. So
Yes, most definitely. Wonderful.
and some adults.
Yes, and those parents.
And the parents. Oh.